Hello everyone, welcome to John and Louise Do Life.
Hi everybody. Today we're going to be looking at, do we really need to follow lockdown rules?
We'll be looking at some very anti-social media.
And can I still guard my heart and mind and watch 18 movies?
Plus we'll have some decent movies for you to watch and some books for you to read this coming week.
Right, first of all, what does lockdown mean?
Do you think that lockdown this time is any different to lockdown back in March?
Yeah, definitely. Back in March, the roads were empty, the streets were empty, there was nobody around.
Yeah.
This time there's cars on the road, there's people out and about. I know we're allowed to take exercise, but that's a lot of exercise people are doing.
Well, where are people driving to? I mean, some people are going to be going to work, some people are, and some people are driving to schools and things like that, and other jobs.
Not many at schools, are there?
But I mean, we're supposed to stay at home, and yet there's still loads and loads of cars on the road. It doesn't look any different at all in our area. Not at all. I mean, we used to be able to walk the dog down the middle of the road and not see a car at all. But it's not that. So what do you think that's about then?
I think we're just weary of lockdowns, actually. And I think people aren't necessarily abiding by the spirit of the law. And therefore, I mean, I guess it probably is the reason that actually in this area, rates have gone up in the last week.
I think I've turned into the face mask police. It just drives me nuts that people wear their face mask just over their mouth and not their nose. What is that about? I mean, is it just because it doesn't fit properly?
I guess sort of it does slip from there to there, doesn't it, sometimes?
I know, but I think some people going, I've got my mask on, what more do you want? You know, I just think...
But Lily was downtown earlier and she said that there was everyone on the seafront when she went for a walk was wearing a mask.
But
so
that is because if this new variant is much more catchable and spreads a lot easier. I mean, the last thing you want is someone that you're walking behind on the seafront to sneeze and you walk through a cloud of their sort of water droplets. And, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, some people are gross, you know, and they don't cover their faces or anything. But I think people are a little bit more wary on the whole. And we have seen a lot of people wearing masks just out and about, not just in shops.
So is it
wear them right?
Is it okay for people to break the rules?
No. Do you think it is? Do you think there are any rules that are okay to break?
Does there come a time when it's okay to break the rules?
Well, I know it says in the Bible, I don't know where it is, it's Timothy or Thessalonians or something like that. It's a letter from Paul, and he definitely tells people to obey what the government are telling you to do. It's there in black and white. And there is nothing, I think, in the rules at the moment that are unreasonable.
Yeah. I think they're put there for our benefit in the short term. And I think
Absolutely.
it's okay to obey them short term. In the Bible, you're talking about the Bible.
Yeah.
When people start doing things that are right in their own eyes, that's when it starts to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
There in the Old Testament, people, time and time again, they started to do what was right in their own eyes. They knew best. They knew better than everybody else. And it starts to go horribly wrong. And
But this is not the time to be bloody-minded or prideful Christian about this. I know we can't sing in church, but it's not the end of the world. They're not banging on our doors and arresting us for being Christians. They're not telling us we can't sing and pray in our own houses. So, you know, I think people need to calm down a little bit and not get really silly about this. But I think the problem is that we are misinterpreting what the rules are. So have you got some of them written down so that we can understand them a bit
I
more?
have reasons to leave home: work, education, training, childcare, medical appointments, exercise once a day. You can meet somebody else on your exercise from outside of your house.
Okay.
But you've got to stay 2 meters apart.
So can you and I go out for a walk and then meet somebody else, one other
I
person?
think it's one and one.
Okay, all right.
Shopping for essentials, you're allowed to shop for essentials.
Yeah.
You can move house.
That's
Who'd
hard
want
to do
to?
that in the middle of
Yeah.
this at the moment.
You can go to church.
Good.
Whee!
Actually, that was very good on Sunday, wasn't it?
It
Because you
was.
went along and led it, obviously. I wasn't
Yeah.
there, but...
Yeah, thank you for everyone not coming to church on Sunday.
That is
We do
so
appreciate
weird.
it.
Thank you from the pastor for not coming to church.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah.
banks, supermarkets, and essential shops are open. Doctors, dentists, and vets
Post
are
office is
also
open.
open. So,
Yeah.
ladies, if you can't get an appointment for your husband at the doctor's, you can always take him to the vets.
That's a good idea. Okay, well that's all right. I mean, that's
So
life is
we
still
can
going
carry on,
isn't it?
We can carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's let's obey the rules, get on with it as best we can, and get this over and done with, and then get back to the new normal when that comes.
Yeah. If everybody plays by the rules, if everybody plays their part, then we'll get through this a lot sooner.
Anyway, time to move on, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm really pleased this afternoon to have Jeremy True with us. You'll know him as the Vicar of St Gregory's in Seaton. And Jeremy is on his way to pastures new. So I thought it'd be a really good chance to have a few moments with Jeremy and just ask him a few questions, find out a bit more about where he's going, and an opportunity as well to say goodbye. So first of all, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And as I've just given a bit of a hint there, you are on your way. What's happening? And when are you going?
I'm in the process of organising a move, so I'm tying up things here and getting ready to move over to Saffron Walden in Essex. Though, as the locals point out, it's got a Cambridge postcode, so keep Essex a bit quiet. Where I'm going to be taking on the role of it's rather grand title. Team Rector of the Saffron Team Ministry and Rural Dean, where it basically means that I'll be working in a team context, leading it. 12 local churches in and around the town of Saffron Walden, and then another about 20 or so churches around that, all with a variety of ministers and ministries, all different styles of churches and contexts. And that was great fun. Really looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Now, I have been doing a bit of spying on you, and and I had a look at that church. That's an impressive church in Saffron Walden, isn't it?
It's the biggest church in Essex. It's bigger than the cathedral. It's one of the biggest churches in the country in terms of the building, and in terms of congregation, that's fairly large and healthy as well. Yeah. So
fantastic.
Plenty of history, plenty of bricks and mortar or stone and mortar to look after. Yeah.
Yes. So I take it you've got a good PCC for that.
Let's hope so.
Yes.
They have a really well organised team there. They've been running as a team for a number of years. So administration, all that's well sewn up. So it's my job to not to make a total mess of that, and just to lead that and nurture it forward. And the real task is not about the buildings and so on, because we've got some great people looking after those, but about finding out where's God calling this team next. And how do we get there? How do we make that possible?
Yeah, and I no doubt COVID has impacted the church there as much as it impacted the church everywhere else. So we're walking a little bit into the unknown, are we?
Well, we all are, aren't we? When I look at the churches I've been leading here for a good few years, where they'll be in a year's time is so difficult to say. Who will return as COVID eases? People have been coming along to church when that's been possible. People have been staying away because of their own concerns, health-wise and other. And I think it's like we've been put in a tub and shaken up hard. And when that tub is eventually allowed to open, settle down, there'll be a few broken pieces. There'll be a few pieces that have been polished, and we're going to have to construct a new church out of that. So I think we need flexibility. I think we need imagination, and I think we need faithfulness, because the church has been through times of testing before, some far harder than this.
Yeah.
And, when I've talked to colleagues who worked on the mission field, or talked to colleagues simply who come from the church overseas, I mean, our problems would be their holiday, frankly. So, it's our chance to say, well, okay, this is what we are now. What will God have us be? And how do we go about making that happen?
Wonderful.
I think actually there could be a lot of good things that come out of COVID, because it might shake us out from some of our complacency. It might challenge some of our assumptions about what it means to be church and our comfort zones. It might make us say, well, our traditions maybe are all well and good in a time of comfort, but maybe some of them need to be set to one side as we look to what's next.
Yeah, I'm part of me is very excited about what the future holds for all of us. You hinted just now that you said about your time in Seaton. How long have you been in Seaton, and what are your best memories of Seaton?
The answer to the first part is possibly too long. It's 13 years, coming up towards 14. When a vicar gets inducted into a parish, one of the things that happens in that service is they go around the church and some of the different symbols of the church that are addressed. And one of the ones you do is you go and toll the bell. The idea of the tolling the bell is about calling people to worship. And there's a kind of a loose tradition that the number of times you toll the bell at your induction is an indication of how many years you'll be there. And I didn't notice it at the time, but I tolled the bell 13 times. So, it's time for me to go, basically,
Yeah.
So what will I miss? What have been the high points? I think the high points have been the high point for me is always when I see the penny drop in somebody, either in realizing that God loves them or God has a purpose for them, or that God is calling them to something new. And that's you can see the excitement grow within them. So it's been with individuals in seeing them recognize that God's calling them to a particular form of service and finding the fulfillment in that. It's been in groups and organizations when people said, we need to do this new thing because we think it'll touch people. So very recently, the CAP project, very much us being able to say, yeah, okay, that's ready to press the launch button. That's exciting. But things in the past, like when Messy Church was set up, when Freedom Cafe was set up, for me, something important when Christians of different traditions work together to do God's work, because one of the accusations so often rightly levelled at the church by those outside of it is that we're broken and fractured, and we are. And most of our church divisions come about as a result of human sin. So when we work together, we proclaim that, yes, we have different styles because that's human nature, but we serve the one God. And we're learning to put aside our differences and to serve God together.
Yeah. Jeremy, we're running out of time, but one final question is, how can we as a church pray for you as you go and when you're gone? How would you like us to pray for you?
I'd like you to pray for me in that I would have the humility to listen to people where I'm going to, and have the courage to act boldly where I need to, and hold those two in a healthy and Christ-like tension. And I'd like you to pray for the churches I leave behind, because they enter a period of transition and there will be changes for them, some of which might be welcome and some which might be hard to accept. So they'd have the grace to follow the leadership that comes from the diocese and the faithfulness to work together, because they've done lots of good work and some great people here who are more than capable of leading the church forward, but maybe they don't know that yet.
All right. Wonderful. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking time this afternoon,
John,
to speak with us. We will pray for you.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best. What's the date that you go, by the way? What's your actual meeting?
Well, my final Sunday, not that that means anything anymore, is the 7th of February, and I'll be finishing a few days after that. I've got a little bit of annual leave to take, so we won't actually be starting our move on the 15th, COVID allowing. But I get licensed. I legally become the rector in Saffron Walden on the 3rd of March. So that will be the big start date for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And we pray it goes well with you as you go.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Crossroads Church. I've had some memorable moments working with Crossroads Church, and I shall take those memories and treasure them with me as I go, and hold you in my prayers.
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
And now for some anti-social media. And it might not be quite what you're expecting, but some of you may have seen Donald Trump in the news in this past week. I believe he's been there once or twice.
Just once or twice.
Yeah. And it's about social media's attitude towards Trump and his supporters in America, because Donald Trump has been kicked off of Twitter. And I think that's a dangerous start of a slippery slope for social media generally. I'm a bit concerned about it because they're starting to ban the people that they dislike on social media. So Twitter have still got Ayatollah Khomeini on there, who tweets that he wants to wipe out Israel, obliterate the country, kill everybody in the country. Donald Trump has never said anything that bad on Twitter. Some of the things that he said have been inflammatory. Some of the things he said have been perhaps untrue. But he's never been that bad. The Chinese Communist Party have been tweeting about how well they're treating the Uyghurs in the west of the country. Now, that truth has never been questioned by Twitter, but they always question the truth of what Donald Trump said and put a little warning on his every tweet that he made. So they are now becoming the guardians of free speech, and this is dangerous.
Who is behind Twitter?
Well, it's just a company. It's just a company. There's not a political party behind it. It's a company. But in the same way, a lot of Donald Trump's supporters were on a social media platform called Parler, Parler, and they met there. And Parler has now been removed almost from the internet because it's an app. You either downloaded it from Apple, from the Apple Store, or you download it from Google Apps. Those are the two places, and put it on your device, and then you could access it. Apple and Google have removed it completely. They don't want it there. Also, you have to park the machinery that underpins the whole of the website and the whole of the operation. And Amazon Web Services have removed it from their servers. So Parler has now been done away with effectively because it had a lot of Donald Trump supporters on it. Now, this is an infringement of civil liberties and free speech. And this is a very dangerous thing, a very dangerous road to go down.
So your concern is then, who are they going to ban next? Who else is going to be prevented from speaking, preaching, teaching, or having a different political viewpoint or a different sort of moral viewpoint? Well,
the YouTube as well have, in the past, they have removed ministries that have had a Christian pro-marriage approach, a pro-traditional marriage approach, and they've thought they don't meet up with their criteria, so have removed them. And it's who are policing these companies, and the truth is nobody.
No.
And some people might say, well, it's a private company. They have their standards, and I do agree that Donald Trump did break all of their rules. Without a doubt, he broke every single one of their rules. But there again, so have the Ayatollah Khomeini, and so have the Chinese Communist Party, but they've never been removed. So it's double standards there. But the American government actually treated these social media companies like a utility company. In other words, utility companies like your gas, your electric, and your telephone. With your telephone line, the utility company isn't monitoring what you're saying. When you phone your parents and speak to them, it's not monitoring what you're saying. They said, I don't like it. I don't like what you're saying to your parents. I don't like what you and your parents are talking about. Therefore, we're going to cut your line off.
No.
They don't do that. And they shouldn't do that. And so there's a dangerous development within the world of social media, and it's time to stand up and speak about it. I've spoken about it. I've tweeted about it. I'm not happy with it. But what does the future hold?
And what do you think? You can email us, probably privately, on john@crossroad.org.uk, and let us know your point of view about this, because it's something I think that is going to go on for quite a long time now, most definitely.
yes.
So why don't you email us and let us know what you think.
Yep. Over to you.
Okay, well, in a similar kind of vein, I've been looking at a different company actually, because you know that sometimes we give you recommendations for movies and films and books and apps and all that kind of thing. And it gets a little bit difficult because finding a movie that's family friendly and suitable for everybody is actually quite a difficult thing to do these days. Now, I'm a big movie fan. You're a bit more of a bookworm,
I'm a
aren't you?
bookworm or a podcast, whatever they are.
So we don't often agree on the same movies anyway, and we probably
never.
watch movies on our own.
I don't watch movies.
Well, I was looking at the British standard for movies at the moment, because we have often said that a movie that we watch that's a 15, we think should probably be an 18.
Used to be an 18,
and
yeah.
We're fairly sure that standards and guidelines have changed. So I looked into this, and the British Board of Film Classification started back in 1912, and it's classified thousands upon thousands of movies over the years. And then in the 1980s, because there was a big boom in video movies, up until that point, it was only cinema movies that were classified. So the government made a new law that videos had to be classified as well. And this was the point where they brought in a 12. In 1999, they changed the classifications to include a 12, which meant that movies then that would normally have been an 18 were dropped to a 15
Do you
and weren't
remember
so bad.
what the first 12 was?
No, I don't remember.
I can't remember what the name of the film was, but it had Kylie Minogue in it. What was the film with Kylie Minogue in it?
I have no clue.
No, nor
I
do I.
would not have watched
Why
it. 'Cause
do I know
have better
that
taste than that. Anyway, it's really tricky. So what we've done is we've tried to sort of reclassify things. And the question that we were asking is, can you still watch an 18 movie and keep your mind and your heart guarded? Do you know, I think the real answer to that is that you are responsible for what you watch yourself. I mean, as church pastors, we can't police everything you do.
Oh, I think we should, don't you?
No, we haven't got time for that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's interesting that I watched a movie on the TV that didn't have any ratings. So the only expectation I had was of the actors that were in it, which was Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and a woman whose name I can't remember now. And it was...
Kylie Minogue?
No, it wasn't her. I thought it was going to be really good. It turned out to be a psychological thriller that was absolutely horrendous. And it really disturbed me. I mean, I had nightmares and everything. It was really bad. I mean, I really love what my friends refer to as bloke films. You know, I like blowing up buildings and sword fights and violence and blood and guts and army and war films. I love that kind of stuff. I'm really not a pink and fluffy kind of girl at all. Although I do love things like Pride and Prejudice and all the sort of swishing of skirts and all the rest of it. But things have definitely changed. So if you're anything like us and you have children as well, I mean, our kids are grown up now. Our son is 17 and we still monitor what movies he watches. When he was younger, we used to watch everything before he saw it so that we could sort of make a better judgment on whether we thought it was suitable for him or not. But it's interesting that the classifications for all these films are to protect children. So once you get to 18, it's a free-for-all and there's nothing to protect adults. And that includes vulnerable adults or people who are a little bit more fragile and can't make decisions for themselves. So if you have any doubts, watch the movie yourself first. But
I like your test to see if you should be watching the movie or not.
oh yeah. I was saying what you need to do is if you're watching a movie on your laptop and someone comes in and you have to close the laptop quick, you know you shouldn't be watching that movie.
It's brilliant. It's genius.
I know. Well, that's because I am a genius.
Well,
Anyway.
clearly.
Anyway, we'll leave it there for now. But whatever you watch, just sort of check it out with God first and see what he says about it. Okay.
Now for a couple of reviews, and having talked about films, we're going to talk about 2 books.
Right, and now for 2 recommendations. And after what we've just seen, they're both books. You weren't expecting that, were you? I'll go first.
Yeah.
My only recommendation is The Madness of Crowds by Douglas Murray. It's a book written about how gender, race and identity have become the dominant issues and how that has happened and how that we are no longer a classically liberal society, but actually we're becoming illiberal in our ways. And he takes a really good look. He's not a Christian, doesn't come from a Christian viewpoint, but actually there's a lot to learn there for Christians, so I thoroughly recommend it.
Okay. Well, my book is a Christian book.
Ooh!
Steady.
Hey.
I don't read books at all. Really, I can't remember the last really good book that I've read other than the Bible, of course, and
Ooh, good save.
I read Jesus Calling every day as part of my daily sort of devotional and quiet time with the Lord. It's written by Sarah Young, and basically it is like receiving a personal message on one-to-one basis from Jesus. Imagine being able to get on the phone and phone him first thing in the morning and just have a quick conversation with him. That's exactly what this is like. It's written in the first person, so it makes it feel very personal for you. It's got a couple of Bible verses that back up what you've just read, so it's biblical, and it's just very uplifting and encouraging every day to start with something like this. So I really enjoy it. It's easy to read, it's easy to get along with, and so that's what I'm recommending today, which is Jesus Calling by Sarah Young.
And that's the recommendations.
It is.
And finally,
Yes, and finally, there's a couple called, let me just see if I can find their names, because they're called Chris and Holly Persick, and they come from Pittsburgh. And Chris and Holly were heading out to work one day. Chris is driving a truck and Holly's driving her car. And as she's driving along, she gets a phone call from Chris to say he's broken down at the side of the road. And she says, oh no. And he said, well, I'm just waiting for breakdown truck to come pick me up, so I'm going to be late. She goes, okay, that's fine. And then she gets a little bit further down the road, and all of a sudden there's this awful burning smell coming from the front of her car. And you think, what is that? And then she thinks, oh, I'm going to have to pull over. There's something wrong with my car as well. So she pulls over and she lifts the bonnet of her car, and inside on the engine are 200 walnuts roasting on her engine. And it turns out they have got a resident squirrel that has been storing his nuts in her car and chewing through the wires in his. And it's brilliant. Anyway, Chris and, what's her name, Holly, they're fine now, their cars have been fixed. I don't know what happened to the squirrel.
shot, I expect.
Anyway, hopefully we will see you next time. Have a great week, and whatever you watch or whatever you read, I hope that it really benefits you. Okay, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.